In a world.
Mate, hold up. We said we're done with the serious intros.
Who said?
Well, we did.
I don't remember that.
Well, I said it, and you're me, so, you know.
Well, I don't care. In a world.
Hey, I told you. We're keeping it light.
You do it on your own then.
Well, technically, I already am. So, anyway. Fuck yeah. Pure wild flight. Get it down ya. How good? Visit nzaerosports.com.
I get to do the next one.
Well, obviously, you moron. We both do.
Of course. I absolutely love the NZ Aerosports business model. I mean, come on. One glance at an Icarus fuck yeah sticker and you know it lines up perfectly with the fucking pilot mentality. But outside their wonderful use of colorful language and a great company vibe, there's a long list of reasons to say NZ Aerosports, fuck yeah. NZ Aerosports blows me away right out of the gate as a canopy manufacturer with a bold offer. They give you 10 jumps on your brand new nylon to decide if you want to keep it, swap it out, or even return it for a refund. I mean, seriously, how incredible is that? That's like getting halfway through a prom and deciding you prefer the slightly racier date that goes down faster. Seriously, they do that. If you're not madly in love with your new canopy after 10 jumps, they'll let you swap it out for another size or model, or even get your money back. And the range of canopies they've got? Man, they've got a style canopy to fit every jumper and every situation with models you know and trust, like the Sapphire 3, the perfect choice for the beginner or intermediate canopy pilot. The Crossfire 3, when you're ready to kick it up that elliptical notch. The JFX 2, if you're looking to up your new swoop game. The Leia as the workhorse and dirtwater dirt beast. Or the Petra. The Petra cranks out crazy power and is nothing short of a record breaker. But hey, it's not always about speed either. Take the Kraken. Built as a low pack volume canopy specifically with wingsuiting in mind, she gives you all the performance you're looking for with the reliability you need that'll have you itching for that next formation, rodeo, or puffy cloud. So, the equipment is top-of-the-line kick-ass stuff as you already know, but how about the team? Well, the customer service gang is there to sort you out whenever you need them. Maddie and Beto are always there to help with Jen holding the reins. They're available for you at sales@nzaerosports.com, and they've got a kick-ass live chat tool on the website if you're wanting to hit someone up right away. These are the crew you're going to want to talk to get those custom orders in. With the stock nylon, once you know what you want, they'll have that shit on a FedEx truck as soon as the credit card machine says approved and get you in the air in no time. For your custom orders, you'll be able to get a time frame for building and shipping when you design it, so get to it. And demos. They've got demos in the US available from their partner Rock Sky Market. The whole US demo fleet is there with Sapphire 3, Crossfire 3, Kraken, JFX2, and Leia canopies in a range of sizes. They also offer student and tandem demos in the US. Bottom line, every step of the way, NZ Aerosports is there to get you what you need, and I personally couldn't be happier to be teamed up with them here on Lunatic Fringe. And now, time to get started with Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you proudly by NZ Aerosports. Fuck yeah!
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can with another edition of Lunatic Fringe and a friendly face on the other side of the line. We're jumping straight into it. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
My name's Jason Russell and I'm a full-time skydiver. What do I do? I compete in four-way VFS, four-way vertical flying, formation skydiving, and I guess what do I do? A lot of times when people say, what do you do? That means what do you do for work? My wife and I, Steph, are on the team together. We do a lot of skydiving related events. We work for contractors to the military.
So you stay busy.
Yeah, pretty busy. When we were talking about setting up this meeting, I had today, and then the next day I have available is about 15 days from now, where I'm not booked solid, where an hour is not going to work.
Right. Yeah, well, and I know it. If you start quibbling about whether or not an hour is going to make it, then you jump on whatever opportunity you've got.
Yeah, man. Yeah, staying busy.
So, there's a couple of things you just brought up that I'm going to definitely want to get back to, but right now I want to start like I always do by jumping you back to the beginnings of your time, not necessarily just in skydiving, but in anything that the general public would consider extreme. Like, how did you get into this lifestyle?
Well, I was working and living I was living in North Denver and I was racing motocross, which I did for quite a while. And it was really starting to take a toll on my body. And I was kind of at a point where I was doing real well in Colorado in my motos, but not on the national level. I mean, the guys that were doing well in Colorado and on the national, they would go to the national level and get just stomped, and I
Mm.
wasn't even beating those top guys at the time. So after my fourth knee surgery, or while I was recovering, uh, a buddy of mine that he and I just skied together, kayaked together, got into a couple bar fights together. We just he messaged me that he had been on semester at sea and he'd done a skydiving in South Africa at Johannesburg and said, "Hey, when I get back to town, I'd really like to learn to skydive. Do you want to go with me?" And it kind of coincided with when I was going to be done with that knee surgery. So, um,
I mean, it's an interesting choice that you went from motocross because it was beating your body up and decided to become a longtime professional skydiver.
well, I mean, a lot of people say that, but motocross is really fucking dangerous, man.
Of
And
course.
I mean, I was just constantly injured, and when Steph and I first got together, she made a comment about she had never broken a bone, and I think I broke 17 in one wreck. Just like, uh, yeah, it's tough on your body. In skydiving, I've had a concussion once from hitting a wing on exit, and I've rolled an ankle. But otherwise, been
That's
been pretty good.
that's pretty damn good. 17 fucking breaks in one wreck. What the hell did you do?
They were mostly ribs. I had been warming up at the track that we were going to race on the weekend. I had been there all week. I was a bartender in Vail, and I worked nights, and so I could come down during the day and ride, and I did every day. And then of the week prior, and then I got to the race late because of course I was up till 4 in the morning the night before, and so I pulled on to the last chance warm up, and I mean, the last chance warm up is a zoo. I mean, there were kids on 50s, and I think at the time I was riding a 400, and so I burned out, and I was leading the warm up lap, and there was a huge, it's called a camelback, like a step up and then a little bit of flat and step down, and if you don't clear it the right way, you're kind of going to bounce into nowhere because there's a big downslope, and so I had been hitting it all weekend and prior to the race, but it required a wide open fifth coming out of the corner to make that. And in my class, nobody was. I mean, I would take multiple seconds off of every lap, just the fact that I was doing that one thing. And I unloaded in fifth gear, and the morning of the race, they put a rhythm section into that straightaway. Um, and so I didn't really even look up until I hit it. And it was a double, triple double, and I hit the upslope of the last double, and just
Oh,
wrecked myself.
oh,
It was a rough one.
God, that's got to be horrible too, because I mean, you kind of know. I suppose it's like skydiving when you put yourself in the corner under canopy, you kind of know ahead of time. Oh, fuck, here I am. This is
Yeah.
it. So you had to know this is gonna suck.
Oh yeah. I'm going 60 something miles an hour going through the air where I didn't mean to be going through the air. And yeah, a couple seconds of lead time before that impact.
Oh
Um,
man. Well, I love that your skydiving career got started when you were healing up from a knee surgery. I mean, usually at least it's a few months into their skydiving career that they end up healing up from a knee surgery. So where did you make that
yeah.
first jump?
That was June 2002. And I had a buddy of mine in college when in 92 or 93. Actually, I don't know how he found out about it. We were going to school in Madison, Wisconsin, and he said, "Hey, let's go do a tandem skydive over the weekend." So in around that year, I was actually my first jump, but I don't say I started skydiving until 2002. We
Hmm.
did one static line from 3,500 feet. But then I really started jumping in 2002.
So what was it about it that that kind of grabbed you by the balls, so to speak? I mean, was there one aspect or was it just the whole thing?
Well, no, I mean, I thought it was going to be fun. My buddy was pretty excited about it, and once we started, I was excited. But when I don't know how many jumps I had, not very many, 10 or 12, and I was in the office like I'm gonna just manifest for another jump, and the DZ manager was in there, and they were showing a video on like a little tablet of a French group of French guys who did a FS jump off of base jump. Um,
Mm.
and at the time, I wasn't aware of base jumping really, and I certainly didn't know what formation skydiving was. And so they're looking at it, and I'm kind of looking over the shoulder. The manager's like, "Oh man, they're turning points on a base jump." And I said, "What do you mean turning points? What does that mean?" Um, and he said, "Oh, there's competition in skydiving, and turning points is like you're scoring points. There's no points here, but that's what I mean."
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, what do you mean competition in skydiving? What is that?" And he just kind of started describing, and about 20 jumps later, I was on a belly team with my buddy because he and I were both like, I don't know how other people are built, but I am built that if we're going to do something, number one, I want to be better, but then number two, I want to be better than you.
Sure.
And so that we were all in at that point. So just a random exposure to the competitive aspect of skydiving got
So I
us
was
all
going
the
to
way in.
say you enjoyed skydiving, but it hadn't gotten its claws into you until you realized that you could win at
I,
skydiving.
I can compete at this, and I mean, it was really early in our career, and I'm sure we would have stuck with it long enough to find out. In any case, it was just kind of like pretty early. I was like, "Hey, Graham, we can compete at skydiving. Did you know that?"
That's cool.
No. Let's go.
That's cool. Now, do you think that
Yeah.
your time in motocross gave you maybe a stronger coping skills in regard to the trepidation and fear in regard to learning skydiving?
Um, I mean, maybe the uh, I I mean, I know everybody's built differently, and I don't know how this will come out, but throughout the course, like as a for instance, Steph, my wife, she well is self-admitted she's afraid of everything,
Mm.
and yet she does things which I find really much more impressive because I I can't. It's hard for me to think of something that I'm scared of when it
Mm.
just in general theory terms. Like certainly not anything snakes, spiders, some of the things that people are generally scared of. But then I just I wouldn't say I'm fearless. I don't think that, but it's not of normal things like a hot air balloon ride or bungee jumps or those are all things that I've done, and stepping over the edge was never a problem.
Sure, sure. Well, now, what age did you say you got started in motocross?
That was about 20 to 30, about 10
Okay,
years.
so actually
I mean, I
not
had
that
ridden a lot
young.
when I was young. Well, I started riding when I was much younger, but I didn't start racing competitively until then.
Because I've talked to other people that had started what can be considered borderline extreme sports, motocross most certainly being one of them. And you start at
Yeah.
that young age where we're all fearless and you got rubber bones and you're
Mm.
indestructible. And they've kind of carried that through their lives a bit. But the majority, myself included, of skydivers that I know are like Steph in that a lot of shit scares me, but I do it anyway. And that's partially probably why I get a bigger buzz out of it.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, that's the definition of bravery. Is you're scared of something and yet you do it anyway. And so that again to me is way more impressive than the way that I feel about myself jumping, which is like, fuck, yeah, cool, let's go do it.
Sure.
So I yeah.
So your time in the sport got started thinking pretty much straight away about competition. You've ended up competing and working at high levels in the sport for a very long time, though. So where did that transition go from being a fun jumper that wanted to compete to working your way into being a proper full-time skydiver?
Well, it was a little bit, I guess, serendipitous at the time. That's not what it felt like, but I mean, my lifestyle for a long time was working in bars, and and that was great because I liked being outdoors, skiing and rock climbing and kayaking and just tons of. I mean, that's one of the beauties in Colorado of being here is there's just so many things to do, uh, and so that that lifestyle played very well into that, and it wasn't. I would say I was into skydiving heavily, and bartending allowed me to go do that. I owned a bar for about 5 years, and I did own it when I was starting to skydive, so that gave me a lot of disposable income, so to
Mm.
speak, without incriminating myself too much to the government. Um, but then I got a job at the tunnel in South Denver, and that sort of started my skill set moving forward. And then, sadly, I was then fired from the tunnel about 4 years later. Yeah, about 4 years later. Um, but then that kind of propelled me and Steph. She had been offered a job in Abu Dhabi at the very old outdoor tunnel that they
Mm.
had. And I don't know if you're familiar with the history of that tunnel, but they basically somebody flew in a tunnel. There was one that was going to go into a mall in New Jersey, kind of the old outdoor Orlando style
Sure.
way back. And then the order for the mall got canceled. And Abu Dhabi bought it. It sat in crates for 7 years on the tarmac, which I'm
Wow.
sure, being a person who spent some time in the Middle East, that doesn't shock you. That can happen.
Sure.
Um, and then they put it together, and it was absolutely terrible. Like you could belly fly, you could kind of backfly. There's no power. It's the Middle East in the summer. It's outdoors. But on the positive side, right after we got fired, or right before we got fired, Steph, because Steph got fired at the same time over drama. Um, but Steph got offered a job there for $5,000 a month, no expenses. They pay all the flights, they pay housing because Steph was the first female IBA tunnel instructor,
Mm.
and they needed that
Sure.
to be able to take women into the tunnel, and she turned it down, but then circumstances changed, and she took it, and then a few months later, when they had another opening, the manager that had hired her knew me as well, and I got a job, and then that was sort of I guess that was the break of like I'm not bartending anymore. I'm kind of all in on skydiving.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then
that's kind of the proper transition, right? I mean, I kind of did
yeah.
a similar thing in that I ended up working in the Vegas tunnel, and
Mm.
the Vegas tunnel was my segue into becoming a full-time member in the sport and working in the sport as well. I did not, of course, start out by heading straight to the Middle East and what could be a very profitable position for our sport. I mean, anybody
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
listening knows that skydiving, at least certainly to start, skydiving is not what you would consider a high profile, high paying job.
Mm. No, I think there's a niche community in skydiving that are probably making it work pretty well. But it takes a lot to get to that point, in my opinion.
Sure. Now, what did you
But
think
yeah, I mean, sorry.
going from Colorado to Abu Dhabi of all places in an outdoor tunnel that would be in the summertime like flying over a hairdryer? That must have
Yeah.
been quite a shock.
Yeah, it was pretty different. I had already in my life done quite a bit of traveling internationally, so I guess it wasn't totally unexpected. And Steph had been there during a summer, so we had been talking similar to this. I don't think it was we did FaceTime. I don't think Zoom was a thing until COVID,
Yeah,
but I mean, I got to basically be mentally prepared because she was already experiencing all of it, and just kind of relating it to me how it was going.
sure.
So uh, yeah, pretty well.
Now, this was before the kickoff of Skydive Dubai, though, correct?
Mm, yeah, for sure. Steph went over in 2008, and I followed in very early 2009. And yeah, there was in 2009 there was a meet over there, the first DIPC, which
Mm.
was basically just a swoop meet over the sort of the inlet there that was, I think, on the southwest side of the runway.
Okay.
Um, yeah, they just had people kind of swoop into the water and get picked up, I believe, or maybe they swooped up onto the beach. I didn't compete, and I don't remember exactly how it went.
Hmm.
But we were still in Abu Dhabi. We drove up because there was a helicopter that had been used for the meet that was, I guess, still around for some reason, and just a random. It might have even been Sherry Elajuwon,
Yeah.
Omar's wife, who was
Yeah.
kind of setting that up, and you paid a certain amount of money and you got to skydive from a helicopter. So we went up there for a weekend and did a couple days, but there was no Skydive Dubai. And then it was just over. And a few, I don't know, months later, we knew there was a private tunnel that the Crown Prince of Dubai had. And that meant that he had instructors, but that was all we knew. And then a few months after we were up there, they had sort of a mass firing, or maybe the contract ended for all of the instructors. They didn't renew any of the contracts, but they did ask a couple people that we knew to come work there, and they agreed. And then, kind of either before they started or right as they were starting, they said, "Hey, why don't you guys come up and just fly with us because it's a fast tunnel?" And we did.
Hmm.
And there were a couple of Arabic guys there that they were already flying, and we shook their hands and sat down, and Steph and I went and kind of did our flying, which was reasonably good. And I mean, the two Arabic guys were Nasser and the Sinus, and nobody said that though. um, so we we got out, and Nasser introduced himself. Of course, I mean, it was his name, and it didn't mean anything at the time,
Right.
who he was. But he said, "Hey, would you guys be willing to come work here?" And we said, "Oh, well, maybe." So we chatted about it, and a couple
It's
days later said, "Yeah."
It's so funny because you say those two names, and for anybody that, especially back in the day, granted, I was not there at the beginnings. I came a few years after everything had really been kicking off. But you say those two names in a drop zone setting, and you would never know that those two guys are not just regular tunnel flyers and regular jumpers, because I never saw either of them in anything other than blue jean shorts and t-shirts and Skydive Dubai baseball caps. And you'd never know that you were talking to, I think he's the head of the sports federation now and His Highness. You'd never
Yeah,
know. So it was really fucking cool.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I mean, for just like you said, for what those guys do on a regular basis, just very down to earth. And
Sure.
I mean, it's hard, I guess, to separate a little bit of what I remember of those guys from that first moment of meeting them. But yeah, both just really kind of chill guys, as far as I could
Well,
tell.
and so you guys were kind of there for not only the beginnings of, but the golden era in both the tunnel and the skydiving and Skydive Dubai. Because, I mean, without putting too much sugar on it, man, skydivers had the golden ticket for a while when everything had just gotten started. And you kind of got to see that from the beginnings.
Yeah, for sure. I think Steph and I were employees like 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, something like that.
Wow.
So there was no Skydive Dubai. All that we were employed for was to teach His Highness how to fly in the tunnel. And so that was our job. And it was, as you might expect, with someone that has to do a variety of things the way that he does, we might get scheduled 2 days a week. And then also they had said, I mean, there were nobody working there, and there are 5 or 6 of us, and so Nasser had said, "You guys, they know you at the entry gate, at the security gate. You can just come fly whenever you want." And Steph and I were kind of like whenever we want. Yeah, yeah, as much as you want, just go fly. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, back in the early days, we might be at the tunnel for 8 or 9 hours a day, and nobody else would show up. And the guys that work there would just bring us lunch and carrot juice, and
Right.
food and drinks are just coming to us, and unlimited free tunnel time. Yeah,
Yep.
man, sign me up. What do I have to pay?
Right.
No, I'm getting paid. All right. Well, all right.
Oh,
And it morphed into a lot of things later, but in the beginning it was just, hey, come fly. And it was the golden ticket.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I remember pre and post Skydive Dubai hitting the radar for the sport around the world, and it was, where the hell is Dubai and what is that? Is it a city or a country, or is I had no idea, and then all of a sudden it was a, oh my God, all the most badass flyers are starting to appear out of this place called Dubai. And I had no idea why this concentration of incredible flyers would come from one spot until I got there. And Highness's Tunnel was still being offered up to Skydive Dubai staff to go fly. And I think the first year, 6 months to a year that I was there, I had logged hours and hours of tunnel time in his private tunnel because we were invited to be guests flying in that tunnel as members of the staff. And then it all kind of clicked. I went, oh, well, yeah, if you're logging as much tunnel time a day as most people are in an office, your learning curve is going to be exponential. It's going to be quite quick. But it was also a very humbling experience for me, coming from what I thought was a pretty rich tunnel background, and getting there and watching everyone flying, going, oh shit, I fucking suck.
Well, I mean, that there is that. But it's not that you suck, and that's not actually true. It's just that no matter what level you get to, there's usually somebody that's still just a little bit better. And I mean, that's the beauty of competition, I guess. But man, for instance, when I talk to people about tunnel flying, I think I'm quite good at the thing that we do. But then it doesn't take very long to start exposing the flaws in my flying. And if you put me next to somebody who's a good dynamic flyer, you're going to see that I'm not that great of a flyer. and for most people, when I talk to them, oh, how many jumps you got, or how much tunnel time? And I mean, jumps and tunnel, it's kind of a rough number at this point. But mostly what I say is, look, if you knew how much it really was, the only thing that would go through your mind is, ooh, he should probably be better.
Right. That's actually probably the thing that I learned the most by going to Dubai, is that the numbers that you equate with your time in the sport, whether it be tunnel time or jumping, mean very little when it comes to the overall skill of the athletes that are competing these days. It's crazy. Yeah. It really is.
Well, when you can get, like, I mean, it's such an easy example, but the Wittenberg kids who started flying when they're so young that, Noah didn't even want to go in, and Mike had to offer him ice cream at the end of the session. If you fly for another 30 minutes, we'll go get an ice cream, and those kids that also had an opportunity that was, I mean, it's similar to mine, except they didn't have to work. They just got free tunnel time all the time. And yeah, then the product is these tremendous flyers that are 9 and 10 or whatever they were, and they're going around the world and competing against adults that have dedicated their life to this stuff, and you're just like, man, I'm not that good.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember watching that Vimeo video that Mike produced of them and
Haley.
Yeah, and Haley flew in 9 was the name of that video. Yeah. So for anybody listening, you want to see an amazing kid flying, look up that video. And it's quite old now, but the flying is still intense. And I remember watching that video, and it's the first time in my life I ever hated a 9-year-old. Because she was so talented and had such a happy outlook on everything. And on top of that is just doing this incredible flying in a way that I'll never be able to replicate in a tunnel. And it was awe-inspiring and angering all at the same time. And it was, I mean, when you've got that kind of exposure, granted, having your father being one of the founding members of Team Maktoum doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah. No, but to your point, it is kind of a thing now where tunnels are everywhere and kids can get started really young.
Yep.
And despite your best efforts as an adult, it's just hard to replicate the learning that can happen when you're 5, 6, 7, and you're totally fearless, and your bones do bend. And the tunnel that we see as a 15-footer or 14-footer, they see as this is like the Abu Dhabi tunnel. It's 30 feet, you know,
Right.
and it's so big because I'm so small. So yeah, I think it's an evolving world for sure. It is kind of interesting to see, like Kaylee, just because we're talking about the Wittenberg kids, I saw Noah recently at the New Colorado Springs tunnel doing some coaching, and he's not a little kid anymore. He's a freaking
He's an
full grown
adult.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dude. And I believe Kaylee's in college now. But just to see, you know, do they stick with it? Do they get burned out? Because, you know, kids, we had, when I was an instructor in Colorado, we had a couple kids, the Tanucci kids, and they were, to my knowledge, some of the first kids to really get good. Parents really spent a lot of money, personal coaching, live-in coaches. Like these guys are flying all the time, and they were going to stuff and winning. In fact, they beat me and Steph in a tunnel comp, in a two-way comp, one of our first ones. And then they burned out, and then they went, like, I think the daughter is maybe doing commercials or something, and the kids in college, and they don't fly or jump.
Sure.
And so that's sort of an interesting, can be sort of an interesting component of it. And I don't know how the Wittenberg kids will fare, or how other, you know, kind of tunnel kids will persevere in the sport, or if they will.
Sure. Sure. Well, you know, with the Wittenberg kids, I get to see, I follow both of them and the Wittenbergs on, you know, social media and stuff. And you see these amazing videos of them speed flying down these gorgeous mountains in France and doing all these incredible things. So I think the burnout factor may be kind of fade off a little bit, because they do so much more than just that. But yeah. I talked to Anna and Holly Blue from The Edge, actually an episode that's probably going to come out right before this one. And both of them, growing up as drop zone brats, pushed back on skydiving because it's the standard, you're a kid, fuck my parents, I don't want to do what they do kind of thing. And then of course they go, oh wait, that is kind of badass.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. I think it kind of depends too. And the Wittenbergs have so many different things going on that they're kind of the poster children or poster family for keeping it spicy throughout, you know, and really, really having a great dynamic.
Yeah. Hopefully they can stick with it. I mean, that's a lot of talent in a couple of kids. I mean, yeah, not children. They're adults.
Yeah, for sure.
Very talented.
So now when you and I met, I came on as a pilot for Skydive Dubai, and you were running the whole show at the time. How the hell did that happen?
Well, some behind the scenes, I guess. I mean, the simple answer is that NASA asked me to do it. And I think the behind the scenes, there were some things that had happened in the past with I don't know, just issues that had come up that needed somebody to step up and say, hey, that's not right. We need to do this the right way. Couple of safety related skydiving things where safety is a big issue for me, and I was pretty vocal about it. And then a couple of I don't really want to talk about it, but behind the scenes things that happened where I stood up and said, hey, this isn't right, and was willing to kind of stick my neck out for doing things the right way.
I mean, that's kind of tough in that culture, right? Because I mean, especially as an expat, and I spent a decade in Dubai, and walked away being thrilled with the fact that I had decided to go there. But you certainly have to know how to interact, and you certainly have to know your place in the culture and in the sport. So when you do voice your concerns, boy, you have to do it a very specific way in order to be taken seriously, right?
I agree. And in retrospect, the same things that sort of made me stand out as someone willing to say those things also was part of my downfall. That when I didn't like the way things were going, I said it. And as exactly as you said, knowing my place, which I came to understand when they asked me to be the CEO, I don't think I was power hungry about it. Just I wanted to steer things in a really nice direction. Skydive Dubai was kind of blossoming, and we had these different teams that could have, with the support that we had, could have propelled Skydive Dubai into the, you know, some of the top echelons of competition, which I think we eventually did. But CEO was mostly just a title for signing paperwork and taking responsibility for things when they became unpopular.
Yep.
Uh, and uh, and so I don't think I understood that part right away. And it took some interactions of me saying what I thought and then getting sort of dick slapped, saying, "Hey, that doesn't matter what you think. We're running the show." Yeah, saying, "Okay, well," and
Yeah.
then it.
You were fully in that mode by the time you and I met. It's actually funny. One of the first proper interactions that I had with you is also one of my worst ever memories in the sport. Not because of you, and you may or may not remember this. I had picked up a load, taken off, and started getting a dizzy spell, which turned into, on jump run, full-blown vertigo, flying a twin otter on jump run. I got the entire load out. I'm descending as the whole plane is just spinning like a top. And I got you on the radio and tried as calmly as I could to say, "Jason, I'm not feeling good. I'm a bit dizzy. I'm going to land and shut down," hoping that was actually going to happen. And I landed, shut down, got off the plane, projectile vomited all over the place. And the only thing I remember saying to you was, "I swear I haven't been drinking." And I think you were probably so deep in the management side of things at times, you just patted me on the shoulder and went, "Yep, all good," and walked away. Like, I don't want a damn thing to do with that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, projectile vomit, not my favorite thing, but
certainly wasn't my favorite thing either.
How did that happen? Did you have Meniere's disease or what
No,
an inner ear
so
problem or what happened?
I was terrified when that happened because, of course, vertigo is a death sentence to a pilot. I mean, that's a career ender right there. They took me to the hospital. They did a cardiac test. Funny enough, was the first thing that they did. All came back clean. And eventually the doctor I saw said, "You just caught the Dubai crud. Like, you've been exposed to a shitload of germs from everywhere. It's gotten you all at once. It's probably got you clogged up sinus wise in your ears and this and that. And it spun you and made you sick." And it never happened again. Had it happened again, that's when I would have been really concerned, because then you're talking about Meniere's disease and stuff like that, which for anybody in aviation knows that's a career ender.
Yeah. Well,
so now, go ahead, please.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. No, please interject, please.
Well, I just was gonna say that, there's a lot of interactions that I had during that time where, for that couple of years I was pretty busy, and so when I interacted with people, a lot of times if it wasn't vitally important to what I was doing, the thing happened, and then that sort of jumped out of my head. And over the years, I've had people recall those kinds of stories where I'm like, "Man, I have absolutely no recollection of that, but I'm glad that I didn't scream at you, stomp my feet, and run off and throw a tantrum."
It's kind of funny because I vividly remember thinking, after the dust had settled for me personally, because it actually took a little while for me to wrap my head around that situation. I'll tell you right now, landing an airplane when you're in the middle of a vertigo fit is not fun. I don't recommend it. So it stuck with me for a bit of a while. But when the dust settled, I was surprised that no one had followed up on that. And it's because you guys were so damn busy. And this is when Skydive Dubai was really everywhere, all over Parachutist, all over all the magazines, starting to really be all over social media and everything. So it doesn't surprise me now, but then I'm like, I can't believe somebody didn't make me take an alcohol or drug test after that one. And it was just because you guys were so damn busy that it didn't even hit the radar.
Yeah.
So now how long were you in the sandbox?
About 5.5 years. Steph was about 6.5.
Nice.
Something like that. Yeah. And, as we chatted a little bit before the interview, I think that taking a management job was probably the beginning of the end for our time there. There are expats that are over there that make it work. And I think that maybe they're a little bit different personality type than mine. Uh, but mine, definitely there was a finite amount of time that I could sit there asked to be in a role that it was just there wasn't any actual authority. There was just responsibility.
Sure, you were a
Um,
figurehead.
yeah, and that just was only going to be okay for so long.
Sure. And again, we talked pre-podcast. I left Skydive Dubai thrilled that I went with a shitload of amazing memories and a lot of gratitude for all the things that I was able to experience and do over there. But of course, like any end of a 5 or 10 year career, there's always going to be gripes and there's always going to be negatives with the positives. But the largest thought that I ever had on leaving Dubai was, I can't believe I left on my own terms and they were good, and that I didn't get thrown the fuck out of the country. Because I'm a lot like you. I don't keep my mouth shut. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's something I don't like, I say it, and that's not really a great trait in that culture. You got to learn to play with the culture that you're in, and even after a decade, I don't think I learned that lesson.
I definitely did not.
Well, so post Dubai, where did you transition to next?
Uh, well, sort of 2012 and 13 for me and staff, we knew that it was wrapping up. Like this has been great, but we're missing home and just other things that we wanted to do. And so I think in 2013, Rook Nelson that owned Skydive Chicago had come over to Dubai. I think he was traveling through on his way to a vacation somewhere. So he was with his wife, Heidi, and we've been friends for a while. And at the time, we were on teams that competed with each other. And he asked us to go to lunch. And I don't know if he had some idea on the radar or knew that we felt like we were winding down over there. But that's where the conversation went during lunch.
Hmm.
And at the time, our VFS team was at a pretty good level. We were winning things. We finished second in the world meet in 2012, and then by 2013, we were beating the French team that had been the world champions pretty handily. And we expressed to Rook that we were thinking about leaving, and he expressed back that hey, if you guys want to consider Chicago, we'd love to have you come there. We talked a little bit about what that might look like, and it just gave us another sort of piece in the puzzle of we can feel okay about transitioning out of here. Because I think for a lot of people, when you're in something like that, a situation like that, where you're making good money and we were jumping a lot, the support in whatever issues that I had in the background of being the CEO on the team side, we were doing a couple thousand jumps a year as a team and as much time as we could do. And that's a lot of support.
Yeah.
And it showed in our results, but there's that feeling of like, man, when we leave here, what are we going to do then? How are we going to continue this? And so that meeting with Root kind of put us at ease that it might not be the same kind of support. I mean, Rook's a regular business owner that has bills to pay and it's not a multi-billionaire. So we knew it was going to be a little bit different, but it was a good direction.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because I would say the majority of the skydiving community doesn't have experience with Skydive Dubai, but lots of them do with Skydive Chicago. And if you ask most of the skydiving community in the world, they're going to say the top drop zone, or certainly one of the top 3 drop zones in the world, is Skydive Chicago. Although going from a drop zone owned by a multi-billion-dollar company, let's say, to a more mom and pop family operation, that's a damn good family operation to step to.
Yeah, it was a great environment, and I mean, some of the things, as you experience different drop zones and sort of different skydiving cultures that exist at those drop zones, certainly our transition to Chicago was really nice. Like they put a lot of emphasis on the safety aspect of the sport, running things efficiently, both things that are kind of in my wheelhouse as far as I like to see them in an operation.
Sure.
So it was a great transition.
Well, the nice thing, of course, is outside of the business aspect of the sport, the one thing that the skydiving culture in Dubai shares with the rest of the world is we're a bunch of skydivers. And you and I know a number of skydivers that come from every culture in the world. And at the end of the day, man, we're all just jumpers out having a good time. I'm sure, having been back in the States for a number of years now, I mean, how many times do you see jumpers that you jumped and became friends with in Dubai? You know, I mean, they're everywhere. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, exposes us to a lot of people, and because of that region being, centrally located to a lot of other regions. There's good weather in the winter. Yeah, the same. We met a ton of people over there. Just some really good connections. I could start rattling off people, but they're just as you said, there some great friendships that have continued beyond that time.
Absolutely. So what was it like standing up on top of the podium for the first time? That had to be, I mean, come on, you're talking about the culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of years in the air.
Yeah, the way that it worked for us, as far as, I mean, we had been on the podium prior to the 2016 World Meet, but in 2012 we got second, which is, I mean, there's a lot of ways we could finish, but second is a rough one. And then in 2014 we weren't able to compete because we had represented the UAE. So that was also a really disappointing year because we had been kicking the ass out of the French team. As remarkable a team as they were, we had just a level of support that allowed us to kind of catch up with them. And it was pretty disappointing to not be able to slug it out with them at the 2014 World Meet. And so 16 was our first year where we were eligible and in a good position. And that coincided with Rook bidding to have the World Meet at Skydive Chicago. So that was pretty cool. And so, of course, winning it was the culmination of a long process of trying to get to that point. For me personally, the podium is my least favorite time. I mean, it's a couple minutes of standing up in front of the crowd, and I work best in an environment of harsh criticism and insults, and I want to get better at what I'm doing, and I don't want anybody fluffing my nuts in the process. I want to know what I'm fucking up, and I want to fix that thing.
Sure.
And so standing up and being congratulated by everybody that's around, it's just not my cup of tea.
Nice.
So I sit up there and it's 5 minutes of my life, but the 99.9% of the rest of my time being on a team is the part that I prefer.
Sure. Well, you're clearly competition and goal oriented, not result oriented. I mean, results, yes, but standing on the podium is not the end all be all. It's chasing that and getting better and better. That's the cool thing though about the sport, right? Is it's evolving so fast and skill levels are going through the roof. And just when you think you've hit the ceiling, you realize it was just a glass ceiling and they keep fucking going up. Because the shit that is being done now in the sky is stuff that 20 years ago was people were daydreaming of, and now it's commonplace. So especially being at the forefront of it for so long, it's got to be a blast to not only see all the changes, but be part of them and be learning along the way. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a constant reminder of if I'm going to stay with it, that, I've got to work 5 times as hard. We went to the indoor world meet in Belgium early last year, and it had been postponed. It happened in 2022, I think, but it was supposed to happen in 2020. But anyway, we went there and one of our teammates couldn't go, so we had to stand in, and that's always kind of a nebulous possibility of what we're going to be able to do. But when we went to the meet, I thought for sure we're not going to win. Like, our stand-in is good, but it's not with our team. And the Italian team, which they had been training, and their coach had started jumping inside, Mika, and they were tremendously good. And I looked up their scores, and I was training a different team and said, "Oh, you're going to compete against the Italians." And then I saw their scores. I'm like, oh, we're not going to beat the Italians. But the real standout in the whole meet, in my mind, is a kid from Poland, and he's 18 maybe, but he's kind of what the Wittenberg kids are, but in Poland. His dad was on the VFS team and had been taking him since he was a little kid, and now he's on the team. And we were joking around. That fucking 18-year-old was way better than me. and and we ended up winning the meet, which was remarkable in itself. But then there were a couple times where I went over to the Polish team. I'm like, hey man, I know he's your kid, but we're taking him back to the US. And just a constant reminder of the evolution of the sport and where it can go with dedication and the facilities that we have available now.
Sure. I mean, it's a very humbling sport. Certainly can be a very humbling sport. I think probably my best moment as a jumper was discovering that I was never going to be the best and had no desire to try, because it took all the pressure off of me. You know, I'm fine to fuck up a skydive or look like shit in the tunnel because nobody's expecting anything from me. So it's easy. Now, I had sent you a message to get you on the podcast because I saw you starting to put stuff out on social media, trying to get things together for, is it an event that you got coming up? Because I don't see you post very often.
No, in fact, that's probably my one post for the year. I gave up social media a while ago, and I kind of feel like my life is better without it. But it is an excellent way to communicate to large group of people. So when we came back from Dubai and started jumping at Skydive Chicago, Rook had asked me or Steph and I to take over organizing the free fly organizers for Summerfest, and Summerfest is a pretty big boogie, kind of end of July, beginning of August. It's usually about 10 days long. It's one of the biggest boogies in the world, I think. The last couple years, it's hovered a little under 1,000 people. But for all the people, Skydive Chicago is a huge place, and it runs really smoothly. 5 or 6 planes running at the same time, and getting all those people up in the air. So when we took over that job of organizing the organizers, I would say they were understaffed, and I also wanted to change the culture a little bit. That they had been having kind of rock star organizers, and I was a boogie participant for many years, and nothing, I guess, against those guys, but their style of organizing wasn't what I wanted when I took over, of kind of like, well, I'm taking the ninjas for today. I got my 5 or 6 people, and sorry, there's just no space for you, and you're not that good. And so you're not going to be able to come along. And there were probably 4 or 5 organizers when I took over. And so yesterday or 2 days ago, I put out that post, and I think I have 30 people on my list, and that'll probably whittle down to 25 or 26, which is where we've been at for the last 6 or 7 years. And I think it goes really well. I try and focus on getting people who are pretty, maybe 800, 1,000, 2,000 jumps, and they're at a point in their career where they're very happy to teach. They're excited about taking newer jumpers, because probably the average jumper that comes there is somewhere between 200 and 500 jumps, something like that. And of course, there's many people that have more than that, but if you averaged it out, so there's a lot more emphasis on the beginner introductory part of free flying and angle flying for us now than there was, say, 10 years ago when I took over.
Well, that's really important, right? I mean, because the Rockstar Ninjas can always go find their group of badasses and do exactly what they want to do all the time. I mean, so for an event like Summerfest, where you've got people of all kinds of ranges and experience levels, you want it to be inclusive. That's one of the reasons that people go. So if you get a reputation to having a boogie that's just a bunch of rock stars doing really cool shit and everyone else kind of floundering around trying to find people to jump with, that's not going to be a popular event. But Summerfest is, by and large, the most popular, or at least one of the most popular boogies on the planet. And it's that way for a reason. So it's really cool that you're going out of your way to find organizers that are looking to be inclusive of all experience levels. That's important.
Yeah, I agree. Those 200, 500 jump people are the future of the sport, and getting them, if there's any indoctrination that we can do during that 10 days, it's a culture of safety and jumping within their limits and planning and executing safe.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that's what we're doing.
Well, because you never know that that person with 100 jumps is the next Jason Russell or the next Olaf Zipser or the next Omar Alhijalan. I mean, they're potential rock stars on every single load, as long as they're kind of nurtured the way that they need to be.
Yeah. And Yeah, and in fact, to be honest, I had that thought about a week ago when Red Bull was out here. Well, not out here in Colorado. We were in Arizona for military work, and Red Bull, almost all of Red Bull came to Arizona, and I saw Danny Roman.
Mm.
You remember Danny?
Oh yeah.
And I remember Danny from the very beginning of when he got there at Skydive Dubai, which was not on our way out, but maybe the last year and a half or 2 years that we were there. And he was kind of new tunnel instructor in the Dubai tunnel as a young kid with not very many jobs, him and another guy named Matt Munting. And, so to already be at a level that's competing at the world stage and see two guys that are just brand new and excited and talented. And, now I'm talking to Danny 10 or 12 years later, and he's on the cover of Parachutist doing that. Maybe not the cover. He's on with Pete Allum, and he's the wingsuiter underneath. Pete surfing him on some XRW stuff, and he's on Red Bull, and he that talent that was pretty obvious when he was brand new is now shining through. And obviously, sadly, Matt's not with us anymore, but incredibly talented guy that really, I mean, just to see the evolution of those guys, that they came up as young, talented guys and then just crushed the sport with that vibrant enthusiasm and skill and passion. It was really nice to see.
Sure. Well, and that's one of the nicest things about skydiving outside of the community is the longevity that we have in the sport, right? I mean, you can jump from depending on where you start jumping from 18 to 80 years old. I mean, look at Lou Sanborn was skydiving what, a year or two ago? That's licensed fucking D1. How many sports do you have where your heroes are with you doing the same thing? So it really is an amazing thing. As long as you take care of yourself and you're physically able, skydiving is something that you can do your entire life, which just adds that much more to it because you're talking about a seasoned professional being someone that's literally been doing it for 40 years. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what,
I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, I'm 51 and still able to compete on a good level. So yeah, I think that's a lot of hope for the people out there that if they can, just as you said, stick with it for quite a while and be a relevant part of the sport for a lot of years.
Yeah, forever. Now, speaking of, as we wrap things up, what's up next for you guys? You're still in the heat of competition. So is there big stuff coming up? Are there goals in mind, or is there something specific you guys are after?
Well, after the world meet, after any world meet, outdoor world meet, we sit down as a team and talk about, okay, guys, what are we doing? Because the minimum commitment for the team is 2 years, barring some kind of crazy circumstance. And so after the last one, Dusty was our longtime inside flyer, and Johnny was our camera flyer. Both of them had plans that took them away from the team. And so Steph and myself and Sam, our other inside flyer, we're still on board. So we committed for another 2 years. And so that's where we're at as far as the team. And then once that basic commitment level is established, then we find 2 new teammates, which we did. Chip Keating was a flyer from California, super talented, a little bit out of the VFS sport, but getting back in quickly. And then Nicole Senecal was she's not a younger person. She's probably started skydiving a little bit older, in her 30s, but has been charging and setting world records and doing base jumping and women's world records and blah blah. So we've got some new teammates, and as soon as the teammates are on the team, then the next 2 years just falls over like dominoes as far as filling up our schedule and what competitions and milestones we need to achieve.
Sure.
So right now we're in the tunnel. We've got a indoor World Cup in Slovakia, which is in, I think, April. I've got my phone out for the calendar. Yeah, April 19th is in Slovakia. And so we're tunnel training as much as we can before then. That Belgium meet reinforced the idea that, hey guys, because there's teams that can just compete in the tunnel the way that the Polish team does. If we're going to stay on top of both of those facets of the sport, we got to put more time into the tunnel.
Sure.
So we're pretty focused on that until Slovakia in April, and then as soon as that's over, we still have a little bit of tunnel time left, but we're going to put on rigs and be ready for the season. And then I think this year is a World Cup, and that's in Voss, and I've never been there actually, so I'm super excited about that.
Nice.
And then the year just fills up with events, training. Between training and events, it's pretty full pretty fast. I had a team ask me, hey, could we get coaching from you in July? And I just chuckled and said, guys, my first free weekend is in December. So if you can manage that, we're good.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like you're going to be relatively busy for the foreseeable future.
Just the way I like it.
I love it. So now, how do my listeners follow what's going on with you? How do they track the team? How do they find out how you guys are doing and what you guys are doing? You got social media. I know you personally don't do much social media, but do you do so for the team?
Steph keeps up with that. Everybody's younger than me, so they all do social media. So SDC Core on Facebook, SDC Core on Instagram. I don't know if we're a TikTok team or a Snapchat team. I really don't know. But if you type in SDC Core to those things, then you'll probably find something. Our events generally are published through Facebook, and like Summerfest is no exception. That's not our event, but we continue to post it. And every year, this year's no exception. We'll do sequential events. We'll do teaching VFS events. The head up record is coming in 2024, and we're part of that organizing team. So we'll start doing head up skills camps and tryout camps. Every year we do a big trip with a bunch of people to the 32-foot tunnel in Abu Dhabi. This was our second year. We're already scheduling the next year. Tons of, we're doing 20-way sequentials inside of a tunnel. It's crazy. And yeah, they can follow us through all of those places. If people do get in touch with me, like if you contact me, Facebook Messenger, or I do use Messenger all the time. So there's lots of ways to get in touch with us. I will warn people who are listening, if you ask me about scheduling stuff, I'm just going to send you this stuff so I don't fuck it up. But I certainly am happy to chat about what we're doing.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, I'll tell you what, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of an extremely busy schedule. I think I just approached you day before yesterday and you're like, look, this is the hour I've got, take it or leave it.
Yeah, today was the day, and I'm gone for the next 3 weeks with no time really. So
nice, man. Well, I'm super stoked that we had the time. It was great to catch up. It's been a bunch of years, but I'm really glad to see that you're doing fantastic at kicking ass, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, you take care.
Cool, man.
And there you have it. Another episode of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void, brought to you as always by, and say it with me, fuck yeah, NZ Aerosports. Head to nzaerosports.com. By Pussfoot. That's right, head to pussfoot.com, the extreme sports collective, and check out everything they've got to offer. By summitparachutesystems.com. Jarrett Martin and the family cranking out amazing pilot rigs, as well as incredible rigging courses. And now joining the Lunatic team, it's the one and only Tony Suits. You know him, you love him. Head to tonysuit.com. Check out all the amazing standards, as well as the new incredible signature line they've got going on. And as for us, the Lunatic Fringe is now on YouTube. That's right, you're going to have the chance to put faces to the audio by heading to youtube.com and looking up the Lunatic Fringe podcast. It's easy. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out all the amazing videos from the previous guests that we've had, as well as new and upcoming interviews on video. As always, I am the fucking pilot. Head to thefuckingpilot.net or theprincesspilot.com. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time around. Well, holy shit. I actually managed to do it. After procrastinating for ages, I finally managed to produce an audiobook version of the Lunatic Fringe book. It's currently available on all Amazon sites, audible.com, and shortly on iTunes. And if you're the page-turning type, it's also, of course, still available in Kindle form, paperback, and hardback on Amazon. 10 hours and 10 years worth of Blue Skies Magazine's articles, all available to you right fucking now, including a few author's notes and even an apology or two. Enjoy.